Hi, everyone. Okay, so God has been speaking a lot, and I have come on here to share just like part of it. I mean, there's so much. I'm trying to get into other parts where I can give you a piece and piece at a time. So let's just start with this. And I have notes. I've been taking them for a while, but I've kind of got it to where I can keep focused and stay on topic. So this morning, as I was in church, like God was really, really speaking to me. And man, there's so much going on right now. And there's so much changes. Some of my Facebook live videos, I was talking about the shift that's coming in and how you can feel it, and you're kind of going like here, there, and then get to a place where you feel like you're like trapped in the box, and you're outgrowing it, and you're just like about to explode out, and this like you feel this restlessness and like a type of frustration in your spirit. But I mean, not a frustration like mean wise, but I'm just, where you just are hungry for more and more of him. And like he was showing me that March 14th is going to usher in like a shift that's going to like catapult us in that direction we're going. And with that, he showed me that he's pulling people out of caves, the secret place, like in the caves and even in the pit, where if you feel like you've been in the pit and he's been down there with you, he's going to be pulling you out of there. Or you've been in a cave, like Elijah, kind of hiding out because you feel like you're the only one. And he let Elijah know, no, I have a lot more prophets that have not bent the knee to Baal, and like he had them meet up and stuff. Like that's what's happening, where there's like his remnant that's coming together, and things are about to escalate. I've talked about the Ezekiel 40 building seasons, where the angels have given us the blueprint and are helping us build what he's calling us to build. Or when I say build, I mean whatever he's calling us to do in this season. We're going to see angelic activity like the likes we've never seen before, because they're coming in and they're helping us. Last year they had gone forth and they were staking claims for territory for us, to go in and move and build on. And a lot of that's happening now, and you're seeing like changes and stuff. And then he's been talking a lot about new identities, but he really started talking to me about clothing. Like I've had a lot of dreams about new clothes on racks, and that, like the racks had four prongs, and that can mean like four seasons or the season you're in. The dreams are very symbolic, so it means like in this season, like he's putting on new clothes, and that's like something new that you're walking in with him. And he really started to focus on that. And then he had got my attention on the prophetess Huldah. And Huldah was the one that King Josiah came and sought out to ask her about the book of the law of Moses, that he had found. And he was disturbed in his spirit, because he saw that like that all that was lost, and like God was put way off, and no one was following him and doing what they were supposed to be doing to stay righteous in his sight. And he was grieved, and he came to Huldah. And that prophecies in the Bible, if you want to look it up, it's great. But I thought it interesting that she was living in the king's palace and her husband was the wardrobe keeper. And like that just floated off the page to me when I was reading it. And it's just stayed in my spirit for like 3 weeks now. And like I would get a little, and then that it's just been a rest until today. It like exploded. It started like last night as well, but really starting this morning, it just like God was really talking into it. I don't know about you guys, but the last 2 days, like he's really, really been talking a lot. And as he was, talking about the all these things, he was saying when he puts these clothes on us, do not shrink back. And then there's going to be people that come in and try to deceive, and there's but we've got to keep our eyes on him. And he showed me like all of us as light bulbs like coming together, and we were all being like positioned, like screwed in our place. You know how you put a light bulb in the socket. And I saw the hand of God come flip the switch. And when he flipped the switch, the lights turned down on, and what was like a really dark place, all of us together, and then shining the light. He was the source. His spirit flows through us. He was that source of energy to come through the the light switch and go into the electrical wires to us. And then the light went on, and it was shining so bright in that dark room. And that's what he was showing me, this place, like he's getting ready to flip the switch, and our light is going to shine like it's never shined before. And that was so cool. I'm so excited for that. And so he kept bringing up the emperor's new clothes to me today. And some of you may know, like, this story that we heard when we were a child, that there was an emperor that loved to he loved to have a lot of clothes. He was very wealthy, like very pomp and arrogant, and he loved to be seen. And he had like a new outfit for every hour of the day, and then he would get in his carriage and go parade around and showing off his clothing. And then two thieves decided to go pay him a visit. And they started to tell him, we have these great clothes that we make, and only fools can see that they're not real. And so the king was like, "Oh, I want this," and he's like bringing out gold or however he pays them. And he's like, "I'll pay you for them." And they're like, "Okay, great." So they go in a room, and they have like this empty spindle thing pretending to make clothes. And they're like, going at it. And the one of the servants comes, and the king sent the servant to come check on them, to ask, "Where are my clothes?" He was getting restless. And so the servant comes in, and he sees them like spinning away, and he asks, "Where are the clothes?" But he doesn't see anything. And he's like, but he remembers they're telling them only fools can't see the clothes. So he's playing it off like he's not saying anything, because they're like really pretending to work on it and say, and then they like pull it up and they say, "Don't you see how exquisite this is? But we can't finish it. We need more money to buy material to finish it." So he goes and tells the king that they need more money. The king gives them more money and takes it to them. So then they pretend to work. And that kind of goes on, like a different servant comes and checks, and then they deceive him, like, but he knows he's not seeing anything, but he's like, I'm not about to be the fool. And it starts to play tricks with your mind with, what if they're really seeing it? Because they were playing that role so well that his belief system started to change, that maybe he's the foolish one that doesn't see the clothes. But then again, he knows he doesn't see the clothes, but he doesn't want to be that one, that says something. So he continues to say, "Okay, yeah, I'm going to go just say what he says." And so the king gives more money, to give the clothes. Finally, the king has had it. Like, okay, I'm getting hyped up about these clothes that they have seen, that, everyone's raving and talking about. I'm ready to put on my new clothes and go show them off. And so he calls them to go get them and bring the clothes. So they go, and they go to the king and they're holding it up, and they're describing how wonderful it is, how it took them hours to make, and just going on and on about how beautiful they are, how they're adorned with all these jewels, and how great they're going to look whenever they go out, and he goes out and to show the people how much they're going to love him and adore him, and then just going on and like, this is the best outfit that you have ever worn. And then so he starts to like his belief system starts to change. He knows he's not seeing anything, but he remembers only fools can't see that the clothes are real. So he's not going to be a fool. So he starts to get like excited and okay, I'm going to put them on and go parade them out in front of everyone. So they pretend to like dress him and put the new clothes on him, and then they get the carriage ready and he starts to go out, and the people see the thing is like what the servants were hearing and saying to the king, it was spreading throughout like the castle, and it gets out to the people. And so the people know to pretend that they're seeing these new clothes because they don't want to be known as a fool. They don't want to be that one, that's going to speak the truth and say what's really going on. So as the king's going through, they're cheering him on and telling him how great he looks. And then it's told that only someone pure in heart can actually see if the clothes are real or not. And a child comes forth and he starts to laugh, and he's like, what are you talking about? The king doesn't have any clothes on. He's in his underwear. And he starts cracking up laughing. And, the people are like, well, he's telling, that's a child, he's pure in heart. And he's got to be telling the truth. And they start laugh, and they start to point out like they like instantly knew that they aren't this fool. They've been seeing this all along, and what they were seeing was real. And so they start to point out that the king doesn't have any clothes on. And then so it like hits the king, like, I mean, the emperor, and he's like, oh my gosh, he runs off in there and he feels like a fool. And then, the moral of the story is, be careful the way that you pump yourself up and puff yourself up and thinking you're so much better than everyone, and then getting stuck in that kind of that pride that, I mean, you're so above everyone that you're so easily deceived that all someone has to do is tell you what your itching ears want to hear, and fluff your ego, and make you feel a lot more important than everyone else, and and know that people are around like right now. That it spoke to me so much because that's going on a lot. It's like people are putting on a show, or they're telling everyone what they want to hear. And then there's like that one or maybe two people that are starting to say, that's not real, what are you talking about? And they're standing in truth and actually calling things out. And they're in the story, that I had listened to this morning. It was so funny as God, directed me to a YouTube cartoon, to watch about this. And uh, then he started to remind me that the two thieves, in the story that tricked the emperor, and they, ran away with all that gold. And um, Jesus was reminding me of the two thieves that were on the cross with him. At first they were ridiculing him and saying things, but one repented and it was like, I'm sorry. And he knew that Jesus didn't deserve the punishment he was getting. And he was even said that they do, but he doesn't. And he asked Jesus to remember him, and Jesus told him, surely I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. So, Jesus forgives just like that. But there's, the one that kept on mocking him and belittling him and saying mean things. And then the crows came and pecked his peepers out. So it just shows that Jesus does forgive that. And then, there's going to be some that are going to still stay in a place that, they're just going to be doing what they do. So we just have to know that. And it was so interesting too that you just spoke so much through that I'm going to check my notes and make sure I have said it all. But oh, he started to play. I don't know if you guys know this song, "What a Fool Believes" by the Doobie Brothers. There was like a part of that kept playing over and over in my spirit. And it's just so funny how he does that, because that it's like that song, when that was playing, like he really started to download this next part in me that I was hearing on new clothes, him putting clothes on us, and it represents our new identity. And I'm trying to get that place back. It represents our new identity. And like several examples in the Bible. And I'm going to read off mine, and I want you guys to like put in the comments examples that come to you too, because that would be really cool to have just a bunch of these. Okay, here's the part that okay. What a fool believes he sees, no wise man has the power to reason away. What seems to be is always better than nothing at all. But the part, what a fool believes he sees, no wise man has the power to reason away. That was really speaking, because the king was so blinded about material things and how good he's going to look for the people. And, he just wanted the praise from the people, that he was blind to two thieves conning him out of a bunch of money and just totally deceiving him. He couldn't discern the spirits. He didn't know that there were false prophets right in front of him. He just wanted to hear what his itching ears wanted to hear. And then he just ended up looking like a fool. And so on to, but Jesus can redeem that too. Let me always remember to put that part in, that Jesus can always redeem that, because, in the process, the emperor was humbled. And you know what he went and said? If it wasn't for me, wanting to look good in front of the people and do all these things, that would have never happened. So it's like he came to the realization. And a lot of people do that. They come to that realization and they turn back to their first love and do the things they used to do at first and fall in love with Jesus all over again. And it's a transformation period that changes their life, and it's a beautiful redemption. So I always want to add that part in, that's really important. But as far as the new clothes he's placing on us right now, I love to have examples from the Bible, because it just encourages you and it strengthens your faith, and that what God has done for one, he will do for all. I love that. So he places on the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. And Elijah used his robe to strike the water at the Jordan River to divide it. And then Elisha asked him for a double portion of what he has. And when Elijah was going up to heaven in the chariots of fire, and his mantle, cloak, robe, whatever you want to call it, falls, Elisha picks it up, and then he goes and he strikes the river. And then he says, where's the Lord, the God of Elijah? And when the water parted like it did for Elijah, then the people knew that God had commissioned Elisha to have that mantle of Elijah, but he was going to be walking in a double portion of it, which is really cool. And then Jesus tells us not to worry about clothes because Solomon in all his glory wasn't dressed as beautiful as the lilies in the field, which are here today and burned up tomorrow. So it's kind of, letting you know, don't worry about all that. He's got you. And then God made clothes of animal skins to cover Adam and Eve. And oh my gosh, you could just take that right there and just go on a spiel with that alone, the way God covers us. But I'm sure that God will really be speaking to you through that, because parts of me just wants to go into it, but I'm trying to stay on focus. And then Peter said to clothe ourselves in humility toward one another, for God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And then Jesus removed his robe to wash the feet of the disciples. It's the beautiful part of that is it was all 12 disciples, including Judas. He knew Judas was going to betray him. Satan entered Judas at the table he was sitting at with Jesus. He knew all this. And like I always tell people, if Satan will enter someone sitting at the table with Jesus, he will enter someone at your table too and try to deceive you. And we always have to be careful and discern spirits behind what everyone is saying, and not saying that people are bad, because Satan worked through Peter, and Jesus had to rebuke Peter, tell him, get behind me, Satan. You're not stopping what I come to do. But Peter was talking about, like, out of love for him, like in a way, like, no. He didn't want to see anything bad happen to him. But Jesus knew that that was Satan trying to stop him from doing what he's called to do. And that's where we have to be careful. Satan's always going to be trying to come through people to stop us from doing what he calls us to do. And then Jesus tells others to remove the grave clothes off of Lazarus when he calls him out of the tomb. Oh, Lazarus, come forth. And then he tells him, remove his grave clothes. Oh, honey, when I saw us at the beginning of this, coming out of caves and pits and dark places, or just that secret place that you've been in hiding with him. But those of you coming out of the grave and the pits and all that, he's calling for others to remove the grave clothes. He's calling you in, for us to all come together and be that remnant to shine his light in the darkness. And that's so exciting. And so the father puts a new robe on the prodigal son. Said that's so beautiful, because he runs out to meet him as he's seeing him coming down the road, and he runs out to meet him with that ring and robe. And I love that. I love that part. And then the soldiers gambled for Jesus's robe, and Jacob gave Joseph a coat of many colors. And, of course, that got taken away from him. But later on down the road, when he goes from the prison to the palace, then they give him new clothes to put on. And Abraham's servant gave Rachel new clothes when he went to go find Isaac a wife. And on the camels, they were carrying a lot of clothes and jewelry and silver and gold and all kinds of gifts for her. So, like, I know there's many more examples, and you guys can probably think of others, you can add for in the comments to encourage others. That would be so cool. But let's see. I have to be careful how you see yourself. I had written this down where he was saying, be careful how you see yourself. You need to see yourself as a child of God, and know that and believe that, and know without a doubt that God loves you, because when you're sealed with the Holy Spirit, that's what he sees. He sees a child of God, and you're walking in that grace. So everything you've done in the past, present, and future is forgiven where you're walking. And like John says, if we do sin, that we're, to stop and confess it and ask for forgiveness, that God will forgive you, and then keep moving. Because a lot of times you feel like you messed up and blown it. And then there you go. You're just kind of stuck in a place like, okay, can he use me anymore? And you get like back in that works mentality where there's nothing you can do to earn his love. So we just have to stop trying and then, you know, get out of those grave clothes and put on the new clothes he's handing us to walk in assignment and keep knowing that. And if you do something, you know, to break relationship with someone, you know, like you say something hateful or do so, you need to apologize to them and mend the relationship. I'm not saying you just get to walk in grace and do whatever you want. Some people, you know, that cheap grace. I'm not saying that at all. There will be times where things we do have consequences, or God will call us, you know, not only to apologize to him, but he will say, hey, you need to go apologize to them and make it right. You know, what you said was really ugly, or, you know, like it might do, I mean, he might do something like that. So I'm not taking that away because I've had to do it, and I know others have had to do it. Yeah, clothed in humility keeps coming up. I love that part. Okay. That is all I have for today. I think I got it all in. You know, for the wardrobe keeper handing you out your clothes for your new identity. So today, just be encouraged to, you know, take off any old clothes, anything weighing you down. If there's anything that is heavy, take that off and put it at Jesus' feet. You know, just imagine yourself changing and being totally naked in front of him. And I'm not saying in a perverse way, like in a vulnerable way where you're giving him everything that's bothering you, everything that's feeling heavy. If something's too tight, you know, squeezing or uncomfortable, like take all of that off and then just lay it at his feet and then know that you're this new creation in Christ and receive your new clothes from the wardrobe keeper, put them on and walk in your new identity. And I pray that everyone that hears this message receives, you know, whatever it is he's trying to say to you, and that you're able to remove grave clothes or soiled clothes, or, you know, maybe you've done something that you need to repent for and confess, or you're walking in the world, you know, not living for him. There's always time to just take those clothes off and throw those behind you, or still throw them at his feet and say, I don't want this anymore. I want the clothes the wardrobe keeper has for me to put on and walk in my identity. You know, just know that the Father's right there waiting, watching to see you come run down the road, and he's got that new robe to put on you, your new clothes that you can walk in it too. This is for everyone. There's always redemption when it comes to Jesus, that he wants to forgive that anything that you've done. The enemy's the one that shames you and condemns you and beats you up and makes you feel like that it's not for you, it's for you too. So you get right there and you get ready for your new clothes too. And I pray that we all put them on and walk and hear anything he wants us to hear. And if you have anything you would like to bless others with, put it in the comments, you know, to encourage other people. That is just great. That's how we all come together and bless one another and love one another as Jesus loved us. So, on that, I am signing out. God bless you all. Goodbye.